Hello, and welcome to Strange Times number 33. Let's just watch this back alley in India, just for a bit. This one is a really good video, in my opinion, because it's very hard to explain it. I mean, when it initially starts moving, it doesn't just sort of like roll, it jerks into motion, and it's like there's an actual pressure that's jolted it forward, some sort of invisible pressure that's started its motion forward. And then, as you can see, it looks like it's just rolling, like it might under its own momentum. But then that kickstand, which is still down by the way, gets caught on the pavement. It pauses the bike for a second, and then again some sort of invisible force overcomes that kickstand. It folds, and then the bike continues forward until it collapses. Now you could say that that initial jerk forward was, maybe the guy left the motor running and it's just slipped into gear and then jerked it forward. But I don't know if that adds up, because when the bike stops, when it falls over, that back wheel is not spinning. And I don't know much about bikes because I don't ride, but I assume if it's in gear, that wheel's going to keep spinning, but it just stops. I think the most prosaic, down-to-earth sort of explanation would be that it's sitting on a slope, because you can see there that the alleyway seems to slope from both sides, from both ends, towards a center point where on the left, where it looks like there's a garage or something like that. And the slopes do look quite steep. You can see on the other side there, the far side, how steep it is. And so it could just be a trick of the camera angle makes the slope on this side look less steep, and so that's why it looks so bizarre that this bike has just taken off like that. But it's just the way it takes off, the way it jerks off like that. I don't know if it would move like that if it was just under gravity. So that's my opinion. I reckon it's either gravity or a poltergeist. Let's just go with poltergeist. Anyway, hello. Did I mention this is Strange Times number 33? Hope everyone is doing real fine. I'm in lockdown. Man, my city's been avoiding lockdown for ages. Everyone else has been locked down for weeks. But Brisbane, we've managed to avoid it somehow. Well, the odd little 3-day lockdown here and there. Actually, this one hopefully will just be another 3-day lockdown. We'll see how it goes. Before I start this video properly, I want to give you a heads up. I'm about to change the name of my channel. I won't say what it is just yet, but if you see an unfamiliar name in your subs list, don't delete it, because it's probably just me. I'm doing some renovations on the channel over the coming weeks. The plan is to release a new series of videos, and so stay tuned, because it's going to be very exciting, I can assure you. Well, so the Strange Times series is going to end. I've decided I'm going to end it at Strange Times number 35. But worry not, my friends, because the new series is going to be pretty much exactly the same as Strange Times. It's just going to be a little bit more polished. And if you're unlucky, I might actually do a bit of FaceTime. I've got a great face for horror stories. So, I hope you're feeling brave. I'm looking forward to it, actually, because to be honest, I was getting a little bit bored of, not bored of the channel, just I was starting to stagnate creatively. Stagnate creatively. And so I'm really keen to try out some new stuff. Yeah, I've got some ideas, so stay tuned. Oh yeah, also I'll just quickly mention, for the tiny handful of people that actually listen to my Cult Leader's Son video, I've decided to take it down because what I'm going to do is combine the two parts into one, and I'll pop it back up there once I've finished doing this channel renovation. And I'm going to chuck up also the Tracy Twyman video, because I've still got the audio for that, and I've had a few people ask me about it. So I'm going to just stick the audio up there, and hopefully I don't get a copyright strike. We'll see what happens. Anyway, let's get back into this Strange Times number 33. Today is mainly Bigfoot. I got a couple of other stories, but yeah, let's open with Bigfoot. Bigfoot by the river. A man who had been out walking captured a photograph of what he believes to be a large bipedal ape-like creature. According to reports, the man, who has been identified as Jeremy, had been walking at the Whitewater Canyon when he caught sight of an anomalous figure nearby, and he managed to snap a picture of it. Quote, "I was doing a morning walk at Whitewater Canyon with my sister, who lives up in Dubuque. I pointed out the figure and my sister laughed, saying it was a person. We called out to it, but got no response. You don't have to believe me. I wouldn't believe me. But now that I've seen whatever that was firsthand, I think I may be a Bigfoot believer now." Close quote. Okay, so here we have yet another blurry picture that could be Bigfoot, but it could just as easily be just a blurry shadow effect on the edge of the bank there. It's too far away to make out any details, and, it just happens to be in the shape of a man, so we don't have any proof that that was actually moving. We've only got that one photograph, so we have to rely on the witness's statement. And some people do just like attention. But, there's two witnesses, so that gives some credence. But there's no way that photo's going to convince any skeptic. So apologies to all of my Bigfoot lovers out there, but I think I'm going to have to classify that one as questionable and dubious. On to the next story. Bigfoot and her baby. A person referred to only as Eddie V recently sent a photograph to the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization, which the group posted to their blog under the title Michigan Sasquatch Carrying Infant Bigfoot Across Cass River on July 7th. In the photo, a figure can be seen carrying an unidentified object across a body of water. According to the email accompanying the photograph, quote, "My cousin was kayaking on the Cass River here in Michigan when he took this picture. Not sure what it is, but I've sent it to a few people to see what they say. Some say it's a Bigfoot carrying a baby Bigfoot, and others say it's a Bigfoot carrying a deer." Close quote. The Cass River runs 61.5 miles through the Thumb region of Michigan, so the precise location of the sighting cannot be pinpointed without more information. Right, so this one is a little bit better than the last one, because there's no doubt that that's a humanoid. Whether it's a human or some sort of paranormal creature, that's another question. The movement is definitely sort of human-like, but who's to say Bigfoot doesn't move like that as well? The main thing is the colouring. It's all brown, so it looks like it's covered in fur, which gives it that Bigfoot look. But let's just call it a Bigfoot anyway. And when we look at this picture here, this close-up, there's no doubt he's carrying something, or she. And the suggestions are that it could be a baby Bigfoot. It's hard to say. It's a similar sort of colour. Could be a deer. I don't know about that, because, I don't know, I imagine a deer would be pretty heavy, and to carry it across water like that, wouldn't you put it over your shoulder? But another explanation I've heard is that it could be a hunter's German Shepherd. And if you have a look at it, it does kind of look like a German Shepherd. The leg there, and then the head sort of tucked in under his chin, and hidden by the shadows. But it is definitely a pretty cool video. And you guys have probably already seen it because it's got like close to 1 million views now. I'm a bit late with it, but I thought I'd throw it up there anyway because it is a worthy video. And who knows, there might be one or two of you that haven't seen it yet. Here's an interesting one. Well, sort of. I think the consensus is that this is a hoax, but it's an original hoax. Bigfoot sets a trap. This was uploaded onto TikTok and the location is unknown, but somewhere in North America.
Disease. where you get to drink all the time. He says, you go to a bar, you meet a girl who's got the same disease as you do. And he's got a talk show.
What do you think? I mean, you never know, it could be real. Personally, I like it. I like the idea of this Bigfoot setting a trap. And who knows, like I said, it could be real. Okay, so moving on now. Moving from one classic paranormal topic, Bigfoot, to another classic, which is alien abductions. A study on alien abductions. In a paper published on July 2, 2021, study leaders at the Phase Research Center in Moscow, Russia, say a phenomenon called lucid dreaming is behind dozens of people's claims that they made contact with extraterrestrials. Findings published in the International Journal of Dream Research suggest that these encounters were more likely than not a result of active dreaming. The research came about because many people who say they have been abducted by aliens describe it like an out-of-body experience, as though they are in a dreamlike state. So the researchers behind the study recruited 152 adults who identified as lucid dreamers. Prior to the test beginning, each of the participants were asked to try and actively dream about aliens. Of those who participated, 114 reported having a successful interaction with an extraterrestrial. 61% described aliens like those they had seen in movies, while 19% said they looked like everyday humans. And what do they mean by movie aliens exactly? Because there's a multitude of alien shapes. You know, you've got all sorts. You've got the grey type, which you actually don't see in movies that often, or I haven't. They're usually more like monsters than little grey dwarves. The article continues. 12% had a conversation with their alien, and 10% were taken on board a UFO. Only 10%. The researchers said 24% of participants felt paralysis, fear, and helplessness. Sensations which are also often described during an alleged alien encounter. Because the lines between reality and imagination are often blurred for lucid dreamers, the researchers surmised that people who claim they were visited or abducted by aliens were likely lucid dreaming, and that is why there is no physical evidence that it ever happened. That's the end of the article. Thing is, though, there is sometimes physical evidence, and also occasionally there's multiple witnesses to the abduction, and very often there's corroborating details between abductees who have never met each other. So they're describing similar procedures and similar environments that are like bizarre little details that they're not just like overarching details like I was paralyzed and I floated and I saw a little grey man. They're like little details like there was a transport hub which was filled with blue light. That sounds random, but I'll be doing a video on this woman who's done a lot of research into this sort of thing, and that's one of the details that she came across while looking into her own abductions. Anyway, I'm digressing. And so science is always just going to say that a lot of these paranormal experiences are just dreams. And so we just have to swallow that. Science is not going to accept it. But if you've got an open mind and you just look into it a little bit more, you'll see that there's a bit more evidence and there really could be something to this. But I don't think I need to convince anyone here that there's weird stuff that goes on in the world. Pretty sure all of you, like me, own a tinfoil hat. Right, and Uri Geller is in the news. Now, he's been around since the 70s, this guy. Let's see what the Spoon Man has to say. Uri Geller claims he witnessed alien artifacts at NASA. In a recent article published by the Jerusalem Post, Uri Geller, the spoonbender from the 70s, claims to have worked with NASA around the mid-1970s, where he struck up a friendship with astronaut Edgar Mitchell. He also claims to have met Werner von Braun, the Nazi aerospace engineer, the rocket guy, who was recruited by the US at the end of World War II. And so in my opinion, this part seems pretty plausible because back then Geller was a celebrity, so I can imagine if he paid a visit to NASA, he would be introduced to all the hobnobs there. And so the article continues here with a quote from Geller regarding von Braun. Quote, "He said he heard about my powers and told me that if he took his wedding ring off his finger and put it in the palm of his hand and I was able to bend it while it's there, he would believe me. And I did, completely." Close quote. Seemingly impressed by Geller's abilities, von Braun invited him to his office where he opened a safe and presented him with a very strange piece of metal. Quote, "It was breathing. It was three-dimensional and a color that I had never seen before, but it was metal. I put my hand on it and I realized right away that it wasn't from this planet. Von Braun said I was right and that it was from a crashed UFO." Close quote. Von Braun then took him to an unmarked building in which there was a refrigerated room. Geller wouldn't disclose exactly what was being kept there, but the implication was obvious. Quote, "This, though, is my red line. I can't tell you what I saw there, but use your imagination. What could they have been refrigerating?" Close quote. What indeed? What indeed could they have been refrigerating? Alien bodies, perhaps? Or was it just the morning teas, milk, and cupcakes? Now this story is kind of interesting because there is proof that he was invited to NASA for a bit of a tour, and more than likely, like I said earlier, he probably did meet those hobnobs there, and they would have asked him questions about his powers, clearly, because that's why he was a celebrity. But I don't know, why would they trust him with the United States' most secret information? The truth is, it just wouldn't happen. No way. So I think this is just Uri Geller being Uri Geller. I mean, he's always been a showman. He's always loved attention. And just because he's old now doesn't mean that he's shaken that personality trait where he wants the limelight. He loves the attention. And he's seen that there's all of this media hype at the moment about the Tic Tac UFO and all of these government disclosures that are coming out lately. And so he's decided to jump on the bandwagon. It's a cool story though. Cool story, bro. Alrighty. I just wanted to quickly throw this in there too. I just thought of it then. I remember reading in a book some evidence that suggests that in the past, Uri Geller has been connected with US intelligence. And so with all of this new disclosure stuff that's coming out from the US government, I wonder if the fact that Uri Geller's back on the scene, I wonder if that points to the possibility that maybe all of this UFO information is actually US intelligence disinformation. Something I think I want to look into a little bit closer. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in. Let's continue with Strange Times 33. Well, let me just finish off this video with a nice creepy little tale. It's only short, so stick around. And here we go. I've called it The Visitor. So original. I was asleep in my dorm room with the lights off, but the door to the hallway was open at the foot of my bed. The hallway lights were on, and I saw a doctor pushing a patient in a wheelchair into the doorframe. Someone called the doctor away, and he left the patient sitting there in the doorway, unattended. He was silhouetted by the hallway light. I couldn't move a muscle, but I could see him sitting there. He stood up, tall, slender, and faceless, and began to slowly creep towards my bed. I tried to scream out for help, but the muscles in my throat were locking up. I remember feeling wide-eyed with fear as it got closer and closer, an arm stretched out, reaching for my face, with a long, spindly-fingered hand. My roommate shook me awake because he said I was screaming, not moving a muscle, but screaming a throaty, muffled scream. So clearly that's a sleep paralysis experience, but terrifying nonetheless. I think it's a good idea to be well versed in sleep paralysis because it does cause a lot of confusion within paranormal research, because the mind is so subjective, especially during the sleeping hours. And I'm personally fascinated by the power of the mind, the way it can trick us like that. Hallucinations and delusions and all of that stuff is just as interesting to me as paranormal reports. But after saying that, I actually want to bring this channel back around to more weird, fringe topics and really strange mysteries and the crazy sort of stories, the fun stuff, you know? Whether it's a load of crap or not, I think it's just entertaining to listen to those sort of stories. So that's the intention for this upgrading of the channel, which you will see over the coming months. Well, I've been waffling on for a little bit too long, and I think it's time to say goodbye. So, goodbye. And I'll see you next time. Have a good one.